I'm upset. No disrespect, respectfully. But disrespectfully is disrespect. Don't be disrespectful. Those vile, disgusting Spartans. Poor little bro, man. And I'm gonna tell him why I'm mad. That vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus. The other state. And of course, as always, I'm upset.
Maize and Blue Nation, it's Tom Brady. I co-founded Autograph with one mission in mind: change the fan experience for the better. That's why I'm excited to announce the release of a new app that recognizes the biggest Michigan fans. The Autograph Fandom app gives you access to the best Michigan content, fan challenges, and exclusive rewards for diehard Wolverines, all for doing the things you already do, like listening to this podcast. Head over to the Apple App Store and search for Autograph Rewarding Fans and download today.
Shout out to John Diadamo from Voice of College Football, Michigan Wolverines. Be sure to like, subscribe to their channel as well. They do great things over there. Shout out to John. Shout out to everybody who's joined the live so far. Be sure to like on your way in, comment in the chat. It's going to live call-in show. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Be sure to come up. Everybody's welcome. It's a day after, right? We're in the aftermath of the beatdown in the big house. Dare I say, Texas took their foot off the gas against us. Let me repeat that. Texas took their foot off the gas. The score could have been worse than it was, is the point. I personally believe the reason that they didn't is not because necessarily they wanted to spare Michigan fans the embarrassment, but because they were like, hey, why show the rest of the country what we can do offensively? This one's well in hand. All right. This is the Michigan Wolverines we're talking about. By the way, 22 people in here. We need 22 likes. Go, let's like the live. Share this with your friends on social media. We're going to have a great discussion here today. I know NFL football is being played, but I felt like I just needed to have this conversation with the people, fellow fans of Michigan football. The link is in the chat for anybody that wants to join me up here. Feel free. It's open to everyone, haters and fans alike. Everybody, I'm sure, has their 2 cents to say, and we're going to give them the platform to do just that. But before we get into even that, we all saw the football game yesterday. We all were expecting a more competitive battle, I'm sure. The defense from the moment they said kick was on its heels. Texas promptly got that kickoff, promptly drove the ball into Michigan territory, deep into Michigan territory, really threw a touchdown pass. Quinn Ewers threw a touchdown pass. Luckily for us, it was called back. They missed the field goal, but we weren't off the hook because we gave it back to them, and they repeated that again. And this time the touchdown stood, and they just took off from there. All right. Before you know it, the score was 17-3, and Texas really wasn't looking back from there. And I think the most troubling thing for me as a Michigan fan was the ineffectiveness of the front four, number one. Let's say that. Actually, that's not number one. That's just one of the points. It's one of the points. One of the key points is the ineffectiveness of the front four. The other was linebacker play. Ernest Hausman and Jayshawn Barham looked about as bad as you could possibly look at linebacker yesterday. And I'm not completely blaming them. In fact, we'll get to who I blame for all of this in a second. But there's that. So that's 2. Number 3, Jair Hill, a person that I have been pounding the table for, and I still believe in Jair Hill. I still believe he's a future superstar at cornerback. That said, he gave up the church's money yesterday, and it didn't look great. All right. So we're going to start there. That's on the defensive side. I have to pause here because that, like I said, is just the defensive side. Because when we start to talk about the offense and what they did or didn't do, it's pretty bad. We're 2 games into the season. We have a starting quarterback who doesn't look like a championship starting quarterback. No disrespect, respectfully, but disrespectfully, Davis Warren, who I, got behind after they made the announcement. I was behind the Davis Warren pick. I didn't think that Davis Warren. I was on Team Orgy in the preseason, right after the spring game, Team Orgy. But once they made the announcement that Davis Warren was the guy, I maybe fully put my trust into Michigan's coaching staff. And I said, hey, if they think that this guy is the best quarterback that we have, then we have to go with it. By the way, I'm gonna get to your chats here in a second. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. Lots of arrogance in the decision making. I agree with that. We won the Natty, so we don't need a good portal quarterback. This right here. Thank you, John. The portal is the portal for a reason. If there were better quarterbacks than we had on the roster, we should have been in the portal looking for a better quarterback. As much as I talked about the Honda McCord a season ago, and trust me, I talked a lot about him. He looks like a quarterback. By the way, he was a better quarterback last season than Davis Warren is right now. No disrespect to all the Davis Warren fans. I get it. He's got a fan group. He's got a great story. I said that before. The story is amazing. He's a cancer survivor, survived leukemia. He went into dark rooms and willed the leukemia away. And I'm not making light. I don't want to make fun of that at all because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm just saying that that's great for a Disney story. If the Disney movie straight to DVD came out, and DVDs don't exist anymore, by the way, wink, wink. Well, I'm sure they do, but you get what I'm saying. If the Disney movie straight to DVD came out on Davis Warren's life, sign me up. It's the new Rudy. Davis Warren is the new Rudy. We as Michigan fans, we need to go support that in droves. But as the starting quarterback for the defending national championship Michigan Wolverines, it ain't working. That's where I stand on it right now. Is the replacement quarterback on the roster? We don't know. We need to find out, though. I think we have tried this gadget play with Alex Orgy so often. Allow access. We've tried the gadget stuff with Alex Orgy so often. Texas knew on the 3rd and 5, by the way. Why did they call that on 3rd and 5? That's another thing. We'll get back to it. 3rd and 5, they bring in Alex Orgy. Who in the building didn't know? Who watching the game from home didn't know that Alex Orgy was going to run this thing? Texas knew it. And guess what? They stuffed it. They promptly stuffed it. Shout out to Moose. Was good. Moose, one of the mods here on the channel. Shout out to you, sir. My guy Goj is here. Salutes one of the Michigan fans. I respect it. Ain't many, but you all right. I appreciate that. I'm all right. Oh, look who's here. Defending national chumps. This is great. This is excellent coming from you because Notre Dame definitely yesterday played like chumps. You know that sign they touch, play like a champion? It should have said play like a chump. But that's neither here nor there. We're both down bad right now, so I'm not even going to pick on you too much. But here's the thing. So we don't have a starting quarterback as it stands right now. Is Alex Orgy the starting quarterback? Could he be, rather? I don't know. We need to find out, though. And this Arkansas State game presents a interesting situation, an interesting opportunity. Let me say that, because we could play Alex Orgy for an entire quarter. I would hope that we wouldn't be in so much trouble either way that playing Alex Orgy would cost us a game against Arkansas State. If Alex Orgy is not the answer, we need to move on. Jaden Davis, All of the Jadens need to play. And I understand there are Michigan fans that have been saying, oh, well, Jaden Davis, his family doesn't want him to play, or, they expect the red shirt. They have the red shirt, whatever. Great. You know what? We don't have time to be congenial at this point. We need to find out if we have a quarterback on the roster. And unfortunately for Jaden Davis, he's on the roster. We don't have time to sit and wait. We have to, by the way, playing him against Arkansas State won't burn his red shirt. We just need to see if what we got. All right. Like on Christmas Eve, you rip the paper a little bit as a kid, see what was in there. That's what we need to do with Jaden Davis. We need to rip the paper a little bit, see if we got ourselves a quarterback, a starting quarterback for a Power 4 Michigan team. All right. That's what we need to do. Let me hit up the chat real quick before I get back into what I was saying. The link is in the chat, by the way, for anybody who wants to jump up. It is open to you. Texas lost to a much, much, much better team. I don't know. I guess he's arguing. He's probably arguing with a Notre Dame fan. I don't know. Michigan lost. Michigan fans should not be surprised, but this is what we should do. Get ready for the next game. Arkansas State, take nothing for granted. And then the next huge game, USC. Eddie Haskell, 1,000%. I agree with you. I get behind that 1,000%. We do need to focus on the next game. But part of focusing on the next game for me is finding out what we have at quarterback either way, right? Whether it be Jaden Davis, Jaden Dinegal, Jack Tuttle. I don't know. Where's he at? I don't know. Jack Tuttle, Alex Orji. If what you tell me after putting all those guys through the grinder is that Davis Warren is the best quarterback after that, right? If we can determine that on Saturday, then you know what? You won, right? This is one of the issues I had with our head coach right now, Sharon Moore. After the game, he was asked if he ever thought about replacing the quarterback yesterday. His answer was no. That's not good enough. After 2 weeks of Davis Warren, we have to have thought about replacing the quarterback. Against Fresno State, he had 118 passing yards, an interception, and a touchdown. Against Texas, going into the fourth quarter, he was under 100 yards passing with 2 interceptions going into the fourth. 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, under 100 yards. I know it sounds like I'm being very harsh on Mr. Warren. I promise you, I respect him and his story, his family, all of that. However, this isn't about any of that. This is about trying to get better every week. And right now with Davis Warren, I feel like we're here. This is where it is. And by the way, there are levels way up here. By the way, we are here with Davis Warren. All right. That's just my take on it. If you disagree, feel free. I am willing to have a discussion. He can't answer that truthfully in that spot. Answer what? Yeah, you're right. Warren has not shown on 2 games. Facts, man. Look, at this point, we're just talking facts. Texas had to clear better O-line, 4-5 coming back from last year. That's a fact. That's also a problem for us. The offensive line is a problem. I can concur. I can agree to that. That said, yesterday wasn't even a day we had to necessarily get away from the run. We were getting positive yards on first and second down yesterday, running the football when we decided to run the football, by the way. And the Don actually was running the football hard. Pause. Running it between the tackles. It wasn't a day where we had to immediately abandon the run. We could have stuck with the run and at the very least, kept the ball out of Quinn Ewers' hands and Texas's offense's hands as often as they had it. By the way, if you watch that game in the first half, it seemed like they were in Michigan territory more than Michigan was in Michigan territory. It was that bad. And by the way, I'm not saying they were in Michigan territory more than Michigan was in Michigan territory because Michigan was in Texas's territory, because that wasn't happening. It's just that they lived over there. They lived on the Michigan side of the field yesterday, that offense, Texas's offense. Wicked Wave says you're not being harsh. I appreciate that because I don't want to come off as that guy. I promise you, I'm not. That's not my intention here. As a fan of Michigan football, for as long as I've been a fan of Michigan football, by the way, just some background. I grew up in a place where it was frowned upon at the very, and I'm talking frowned upon is just a nice way of saying it, to be a Michigan football fan. I'm from the heart of that vile, disgusting cesspool in Columbus, not Columbus. I'm a few miles down the road in Dayton, but you get the idea. Both sides of my family were not happy that I was a Michigan fan. They still aren't, by the way. I go back for reunions and things like that. I still get ribbed a little bit, but after last season, they had to chill. You gotta pipe down a little bit now. But now, if we play like this going into that week, I can only imagine what's gonna happen. But that's how much of a Michigan fan I am. Nah, man, I'm just going with history here. The meat grinder starts in the playoffs. That's absolutely a fact, Bugsy's daddy. But at this point, can you honestly say that this Michigan football team is going to make the playoff? I can't with any sort of certainty or with any sort of confidence say that. I can't confidently say at this point, and this is going to sound blasphemous, so get ready. Hold on to your chairs. I cannot right now confidently say Michigan will beat poor little bro Nim. I know. I said it. I can't say that with any confidence. By the way, you know what poor little bro Nim is doing? Playing a true freshman quarterback, true freshman wide receiver, both of them out there making noise. You know what we have on the bench? A former 5-star true freshman quarterback. He needs to play this week. He needs to get in the game as well as Orgy, as well as Jaden Davis. Whoever we have on that roster that played quarterback as a junior in high school. I don't care. At this point, we need to know what we have. And right now, Davis Warren is not the answer. And these gadget plays with Alex Orgy are not the answer. Like the live, if you haven't already, share this with your friends on social media. The link is in the chat for anybody who wants to join. I know we all have a lot to unpack. It's going to be an interesting live today. My man says, on a positive note, we are PBCMC. We are better on returns. That's true. By the way, Jordan Marshall did look pretty good returning kicks. Why didn't we could have given him some touches on offense? Maybe he got one, but I'm just saying at this point, play the guys. Amarian Stewart is on the bench right now at wide receiver. Marion, not Amorian Walker, who, by the way, got in one play, and on that play, Davis Warren took a sack. We'll get to that in a second. But Amarian Stewart is on the bench. He can route people up. I've seen him route people up. He's a true freshman. He needs to see the field. Michigan recruiting, by the way, if it doesn't take a hit, needs to do this at every position on the football field, especially at quarterback, by the way. If you're an elite player, you can start here, right? Because all of those great players that we talked about before this game yesterday, all preseason, the Will Johnsons, the Kenneth Grant, Mason Grahams of the world, they're all going to be going to the league after this. I can promise you that. And they are going to need replacements. There isn't a position on the football field. Colston Loveland, by the way, to the league. There isn't a position on the football field that right now a true freshman wouldn't have a chance to compete for the job. and I'm not talking about this season, of course, because the defense is stout this season, but we're about to lose all of those guys, damn near. So going forward, Michigan recruiting needs to be, you can start to the high schoolers. You can start here. Bottom line. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that when we get to it. Cole Cabana, where's Cole Cabana? Where is Cole Cabana? This is a guy that for years we've heard about the speed he possesses. We haven't seen this man step toe on the football field. What is happening? Mel Kiper has 4 Michigan players in his top 25 draft board. They're gone. Facts. All those guys I just named, bro. The Will Johnson, first round, high first round. Mason Graham, high first round. Kenneth Grant, possible end of the first round. Colston Loveland, middle of the first round. These guys are gone. All right, now let me talk about this defense. We got my guy Goj here. Goj, what's good, man? You're muted right now.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man.
Man, you will be all right. I don't like hearing all this doom and gloom from y'all. I want y'all cocky like I need y'all to be. You know what I'm saying? Y'all all right. You just show up that quarterback situation and you guys are good. You know, it's hard to run what you want to if your quarterback is limited. You know what I'm saying? Fact. So you gotta get that QB situation showed up. And I need y'all to get back to being arrogant, cocky Michigan. You understand? I don't need y'all coming into November talking about, oh, it's week 2 and y'all talking about, oh, this season. No, it's just the QB. That's it.
I mean, the QB is bad. I agree with that, by the way, and that affects the entire team, even the defense, right? If I'm one of those, great players on defense, and I just know that, no matter what I do, I'm gonna be back out here in a few minutes anyway because they're not gonna move the football. That affects the psyche. I get that, and we certainly need to make a change at quarterback, no doubt about it. By the way, I hate to say this, I'm gonna throw up in my mouth. But you guys look like a well-oiled machine on offense. That vile, disgusting cesspool that you are. What do you think of the early returns on Jeremiah Smith?
Oh man, he looks like a pro already. But again, nothing means anything until we do what we have been doing up until this little hiccup we had, which is you guys having that, that bully O-line for 3 or 4 years, just moving us on out the way. Right. And y'all lost that, man, because, I used to think we had a chance to win it, but I used to always tell myself that O-line, them bouncers they got.
Yeah.
I mean, we know what's coming. The stadium know what's coming. We can't do nothing. That was a veteran O-line that just would punch you in the mouth.
Right.
And now I see Michigan. I saw the Fresno game. I said, Ohio State might mess around and blow Michigan out this year because Michigan can't sustain drives. I mean, I ain't trying to be funny or nothing, but I don't see them guys moving the chains enough.
Yeah.
But, defensively, y'all still got that squad. It's just y'all got to put that quarterback situation to open up that playbook. If not, Cat's gonna play y'all for the run and dare him to pass. And if you can, complete a few, they're gonna live with that. But eventually, they're gonna pick them.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate you coming up, Goj. Before I let you go though.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I let you go. So before the season, I was very confident in Michigan being able to make the playoff. I was confident in that game in late November that you're talking about. Both of that, all my confidence in both of those things is down to close to nothing. All right, but one of the points that you made is about the offensive line. That certainly doesn't look like it has looked since 2021. Let's just start there. And the play calling of Michigan. I'm not sure if you watched any of the game yesterday or how much you saw, but Kirk Campbell does not seem to be the play caller that Sharon Moore was. If you saw that, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I totally agree. There's an art to calling plays, and you just can't make, somebody who is on your staff the play caller because he knows your system. There's an art to this thing, and if you don't have that touch, I mean, everybody can. Me and you can call the play, but
Yeah.
what is our goal? You know what I'm saying? What packages? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to wear this team out in the first quarter? So let's call some heavy run, mix it in. You gotta have an objective every quarter based on that team's personnel. He just can't call plays, and you gotta have a feel for it. Day is good at it, but all Day knew how to do was pass, and he brought Chip in to humble himself. You know, he kind of humbled himself. He hired somebody to humble him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think Sharon is a good play caller. I don't know if he might have to go ahead and be, if he want to save his job and say, look, oh boy, I love you. You my dog, but I'm gonna fix this.
Yeah.
See you later. But I'll take it off the line, brother. I got to go.
No doubt, man.
Yep.
Shout out to my guy Goj. He is a fan of that Vile Disgusting Cesspool in Columbus, but a guy that I rock with here on the channel. So shout out to that. I agree with what he's saying too, because I think Sharon Moore needs to take over the play calling. No disrespect to Kurt Campbell. I thought it would be interesting to see Kurt Campbell call plays. I know we're only 2 games into, and this is Kurt Campbell's first time calling plays at this level, but it doesn't seem to be working out the way that we hoped it would. And it's not just Kurt Campbell and the offensive coordinating that needs a reboot, because Wink Martindale has these guys all out of place. We got out leveraged again more yesterday than we did all of last season. It was that bad. And I'm not saying that Wink Martindale is a bad DC, but he certainly needs to adjust to the college game. I think I saw somebody in the comments make mention of that. Wink Martindale is not adjusting to the college game like I thought he would so far. That said, it's a lot of there wasn't enough pressure with the front four against Texas. We were relying on blitzing, and Barham was out of position so much. Even Makari Page was out of position so much. What was the tight end for Texas was making Makari and Ernest Hausman look silly out there, and it just was a bad look for Michigan. Michigan's defense. I cannot state that enough, that Wink Martindale needs to change the philosophy. I get he came here touting that he is the architect of the system that Michigan's been running on defense since 2021. That said, he's trying to put his own, fingerprints on that defense right now, and it's just not working, man. Don't switch up something that works, right? From McDonald to Minter, it just got better, if I'm being honest, and now it looks like we're going backwards, right? I hate to invoke the name of Don Brown, but it had some Don Brown vibes to it. Let's talk about it in the comment section. Go Blue, still in forever. Always, G. Shout out to G too. G is an official madman. He has joined the membership group. So shout out to G. Moose has got something to say. Hit the like button, or Triple M will get upset. That's a fact. Make sure you hit that like button. There's 58 people here. We need 58 likes at least. It costs you not a penny to be a little friendly, I promise. Look like Wink didn't. Wink, yeah. If it's 3rd and long, he's calling the blitz every single time. Thank you for bringing this up, Aaron Taylor. How many 3rd and longs did Michigan give up yesterday, especially in the first half? It was quite ridiculous. Michigan couldn't get off the field on 3rd down and it's not like it was just 3rd and 1 every time, 3rd and 2. Like, these were, the defense had put themselves in a position to force a long 3rd down sort of play, and they still couldn't get off the field. It was not great. Shout out to New Life, just became a member. We appreciate you. You are officially a madman. Let's get it, bro. But yeah, Michigan could not get off the field on 3rd and long to save their life. It was really an embarrassment, and just looked so unlike the Michigan team that we had been seeing, the Michigan teams we've been seeing over the last 3-4 years. T1000, haven't heard a thing about Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant in either game. Barham gets all these compliments and didn't do a damn thing against a good team. That's a fact. That is 1000% a fact. Barham did nothing yesterday. In fact, I could point out specific plays where he looked awful. There was that first touchdown that got called back for Texas, thankfully, where there was some pressure on Ewers. He rolls out to the right, and Barham is giving chase, but he was jogging. If Barham sprints to the quarterback, maybe he can't complete that pass because he's thinking about the 240-pound linebacker about to smash into him. But no, he just jogged behind him like it was embarrassing. Then I can't remember a time where I saw so many missed tackles from a Michigan team. It was bad, the missed tackles. Jair Hill, and let me preface this because Jair Hill is a guy that I like. He's a guy that I pounded the table for in the preseason to be the cornerback number 2, but buddy, has it been rough. He's given up some big plays. His open field tackling leaves a little to be desired. Now, I will acquiesce that he will get his nose dirty. He'll get in there and try to hit people. I'm going to give him that, but you can't get beat over the top like he does. He gets beat too often over the top, at least against good teams like Texas, and it was embarrassing. We got Nick in the chat. We're going to bring him up. Nick, what's going on, sir?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm hanging in, bro. Hanging in.
This is my first time calling into you. I've talked to you before on the Michigan channel at Voice of College Football. But, dude, I'm just calling in, man, because I told myself I didn't think we were going to win this Texas game, and I told myself, like, don't overreact if we lose.
Right.
But then you see that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, like, so I kind of wanted to get more thoughts from you and just some other people on that, because, like, I don't know how to feel after that. Like, because if this team doesn't get better, I'm not seeing too many wins, man.
Thank you for bringing that up, Nick, because that's one of the things that I was saying. Right now, other than Arkansas State, because I do expect Michigan to win the Arkansas State game pretty handily. I think Michigan should take that Arkansas State game, by the way, as an opportunity to find out what we have on the roster at quarterback. But that's, neither here nor there. I'm not the decision maker for that. Outside of that, once we get past Arkansas State, USC actually looks like a real team.
I have that as a loss, honestly.
For us, yeah. It does look like a loss. If you ask me today, that is a loss for us. But even beyond that, there are no more gimmies on the schedule, really. We have to go to Illinois, who just upset Kansas. And I'm not saying that Kansas is some world beater, but that was a game that people had Kansas favored in, right? And now we have to go to Champaign to play Illinois. And though I think we'll win that game, it's no longer one of those, no-brainer W's on the schedule. Poor Lil Bronim has to come to the big house. Before the season, I would have said we were going to beat them 45 to nothing again, 49 to nothing again. Now that looks like an actual football game. It looks like we're going to be in a tussle for our life, especially if Davis Warren is still the quarterback, especially if the offense still looks like it does today. Then, I'm not even talking about the Oregon, which, by the way, they don't look as daunting as it could have looked, to start the season. But that's still a team that right now I would say we're probably going to lose to. If we don't get better offensively. And then we know what happens towards the end of the season with the other state. So I think we have to get better fast. We have to find a solution at quarterback quickly. I think some decisions have to be made on who's making the offensive play calls. I think Sharon Moore has to put a foot down with Wink Martindale and, go find some of the old defensive play calling sheets or whatever it is, because Wink was thoroughly outcoached yesterday by Sark, and it wasn't even close.
I feel like he put Jair Hill in quite a few bad positions, and Jair Hill sucked. Like, he didn't turn in a good performance, but like,
Right.
I still felt like the coaching staff didn't do him any favors. But yeah, man, honestly, I'm stunned,
Yeah.
especially by our defense. Like, what worries me, I think, the most, besides, scheme and what Wink is trying to do, because the thing is like, yeah, Wink Martindale, he different defensive coordinator. He wants to accomplish different things, but like, he might just not. He's just coming from the NFL. He might just not quite understand what he has and how to kind of work that in with what he wants to do. I don't know if he
Right.
needs to simplify some things or what, but we know we have talent on that side of the ball, and to just get sliced. Now, I will say with Quinn Ewers, in the past, he was a really hit or miss. He'd have hit or miss performances.
Right.
Man, was he calm and collected. I mean,
Yeah.
how he was playing, I don't know how many. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to have a guy who's just making all the right decisions and not rattled, a great quarterback and a great offensive line is going to normally beat a great defense. But
Right.
I don't know, man. I'm also really concerned that our defense looked gassed like right away. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So Justin Tress, maybe I'm looking at you maybe a little bit here, like,
Right.
but maybe it's just these guys, Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, they were used to being rotated a lot more, so maybe that's just kind of an adjustment.
Right.
I don't
We're
know.
not as deep on that defensive line as we were a season ago. But yeah.
Yeah, so I just honestly, I don't know how to feel. I'm almost looking for some reassurance because I'm not saying this is going to happen. I think most of us think like there are going to be improvements. I think our ceiling, honestly, is like 8 wins. That's the ceiling.
Yeah.
For me. But like, I think people need to kind of brace themselves a little bit. Again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. It's possible that this thing could bottom out. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know, man, but I know, I think I talked with you a little bit about this before. I can't remember your thoughts. You're not a Davis Warren guy. And I was kind of, I don't know, I was leaning more towards him, and now obviously I'm questioning that. I think he's clearly got an arm, but like, were you seeing him locking onto his first reads again? Did you see any improvement in that this week? Or
So the improvement that I saw this week from Davis Warren took place really in the second half, where he completed some passes rolling out. He took a couple chances down the field. So maybe it wasn't necessarily as much locking on to the first guy as it was a week ago against Fresno. But it was still not great. You know what I mean? And by the way, in the second half, Texas had really no need to, apply the pressure that they were applying in the first half. I'm sure that those guys by that time were rotating guys in and out too, so it was probably a little easier to complete passes like that. But I'm not seeing the improvement that I need to see. He had, he made a layered throw later in the game, but he had one with Samaj Morgan opening a zone hole early in the game that would have really, jump started some offense at a time where we could have still been in the football game, and he missed that throw badly. And you're right. Like, I was on Team Orgy in the preseason, but once the decision was made to go with Davis Warren, I got behind that. You know what I mean? And I wasn't questioning, the coaches anymore. But now I am. I'm definitely questioning that decision now. And I think, a change needs to be made.
Yeah, I thought about it more. I mean, watching the game live, and Davis, he's definitely got an arm. Like that is not the issue with him. And I don't really know, I think Davis was actually kind of got unfortunate with what happened to him in high school. My thought behind that is he's a talent. I'm not going to say he's a pro quarterback. I think he could have been developed, but I'm starting to feel like the ship has sailed on him. Like, he's 22 years old. Maybe a few years ago you could have developed him into something, but like at this point against Arkansas State, if you're going to make the change, why not just roll out Alex Orji and just give him a couple series just to see? I mean, I know he dumped that pass into the ground, but let's just be honest. I think the coaching staff has put both of these quarterbacks at a disservice by just switching them in and out. Both of them.
Absolutely. And it seems to be no rhythm to it, no rhyme or reason to when they try Alex Orji out there, right? Yesterday they brought him out on a 3rd and 5 play. Where if you're going to do that, they have, by the way, I stand by this. If you're going to keep using Alex Orji this way, he has to throw the ball down the field at least once or twice, because otherwise everybody just locks into the run. And Texas damn sure did that yesterday. And to compound it being a run, a quarterback run, there was no misdirection. There was no read option. It was just straight up quarterback power, and Texas shut that down immediately. So there is a problem there. I saw Aaron Taylor. You said something earlier, and I forget what it was, but I wanted to chime in on that. Also, D Original. He is a walk-on. There's a reason for that. I'm with you there. But you also brought up the conditioning, and Ben Herbert has never been looked more needed than yesterday. Because Nick, you brought it up. The defense early in the game looked like they had enough, right? Like they were gassed early in that football game. And I think Ben Herbert's presence and his conditioning on that football team from a year ago and the previous 2 years before that was certainly something that Michigan needs now.
Yeah, I do want to address that comment on Davis Warren. Yeah, there is a reason he's a walk-on, but he's not a traditional walk-on. I think people need to remember his senior season was canceled due to COVID, and he had cancer. So am I saying he would have been this 5-star? Absolutely not. But is he a traditional walk-on? No. Like, there is some talent there. I just think, I mean, hey, man, not every guy is going to be put in an ideal situation and be developed properly. He's just not going to get that opportunity. So I think that's kind of the situation. Would have been intriguing to see if he would have got some run earlier, or just, I don't know, maybe in a different offensive system. We'll never know. But yeah, it's tough, man. But the other thing is, like, so you mentioned that 3rd down and 5, people are saying, well, they don't trust him to throw.
Yeah.
And I guess I keep going back to this, and I'm like, but apparently they trusted him to throw in the Alabama game once.
Right.
And that was in a college football playoff in a close game. So, I mean, this is not even near as big of a game as that. So I still just and Sharon Moore said, he's like, Alex didn't lose it. Davis Warren took it. It looks like the other way around. It looks like from what the coaching staff is, they're telling us one thing, but then the way they're handling the situation on the field, they're acting like Alex can't throw. And I don't know how a guy could not lose a quarterback competition if he can't throw. So I just want to see what he can do. But honestly, I don't know if it'll matter right now with our offensive line. Who's back there?
Yeah. No, that's fair. And somebody, I was watching something earlier, somebody pointed out how Evan Link was getting beat badly all game. And that's the truth. Bugsy's daddy, you're right. It is, you cannot RPO without the threat of a pass. That's why I am saying they have to allow him to pass the ball once or twice at least to present that threat. And I know last week he had 2 passes, one the first touchdown of the game, the other he threw into the dirt, 5 yards in front of the receiver. But I do feel like he's also being judged more harshly on the incomplete pass than he did on the complete pass. Now, granted, me or you probably could have completed that pass to the Don for the touchdown. It was a walk-in touchdown. That one wasn't hard. But, we are putting a lot of emphasis on the incomplete pass. That said, I'm not even the guy that's saying Alex Orji is the answer. I'm just a guy that's saying next week we have an opportunity to play him a few series, whatever, a quarter, whatever it is, to find out if he's a better option than the option we have right now. Not just him either, by the way. Jaden Davis, Jaden Dennegal, whoever we have at quarterback should get into the game and play next week, because right now we don't have an option or a bona fide number one quarterback. And maybe even after that, we still won't. But if we don't kick the tires on it, then it's just going to leave open to question people like me saying, why aren't we trying to do this thing, right?
Well, that's the thing is, like, we know we have talent. Like, that's what, if you really think about this, like, Michigan State and these other, Minnesota, really shouldn't be a question. We've just destroyed most other teams in the Big Ten with recruiting. So this thing shouldn't bother. It's not like we don't have talent, but like, right. I don't know. Do you watch Devin Gardner, Monday Morning Quarterback?
Yeah, I watch him.
So I think this is a real thing, but like, and I agree with him. He brings up this a lot. He says, guys in practice, like some dudes just suck in practice, but they're just ballers. And a game, it's just something about it. And some dudes look great in practice. Like he says, it's always different on State Street. And he was talking about like what you're doing with, this shuffling QB things. Like he's like, you better hope that you don't kill Alex Orji's confidence, because we don't even know if he's that guy.
Right.
In the game. He hasn't been given that opportunity. So I'm with you. I don't know if he's the answer, but like, what do you have to lose at this point?
Right.
Like, so I don't think most of the Michigan fan base right now is saying Alex Orji is the answer. We just have questions we want to see.
Exactly.
And I don't know, man. I understand the Michigan beat writers can only be report on what they've been told, but like, I wish we had some open practices right now, because the way this is looking, it sounds like we were fed a bunch of BS the whole time.
That's a fact. Shout out to Nick, man. Thank you for coming up. For sure. I agree, by the way. It does look like we were fed a bunch of BS by the coaching staff on what was really going on. Look, here's the thing. Up until 2 weeks before the season started, it sounded like and looked like by all the reporting that Alex Orji was the starting quarterback. And then 2 weeks before the season starts, all of a sudden we start to hear about Davis Warren and what he's doing in practice. And apparently, the last week of practice, he completes something like 80% of his passes. And now we have to go that way, right? I get it. And what Nick just brought up about being able to practice is one thing, but it's different when you get to State Street. When you walk into the big house, when you walk into and these rounds become live, it's different for people. And to Nick's credit too, Davis Warren is not the traditional walk-on. He's a guy that missed the senior season of his high school year and walked on to Michigan and then sat and learned all of these things. Fine. But it doesn't mean that when the lights are on and it's time to go, that he's the guy, is the point. I remember hearing a story, this is a little different, but a NBA story about Sasha Vujacic, who used to play for the Lakers with Kobe Bryant when Kobe was there. And apparently the guy wouldn't miss in practice, but that certainly wasn't the same player we saw on the court when, they threw the ball up and it was time to go. So you can be an excellent practice player. You can be a horrible practice player and be a great, game time player. It works either way. We just need to see what we have in these other guys, in my personal opinion, going forward. That's all. And if at the end of all of that, if Davis Warren still looks like the best quarterback, then we just got to go with it and we got to take our lumps. That's just what it is. Try to make the best of him being the starting quarterback. With this O-line, the quarterback must be mobile. Here's another take that I don't necessarily disagree with. I absolutely agree with that. When you have a lackluster quarterback room, you have to scheme people open. This is also a fact. The way Orji was looking, I think his confidence is shaken. And why wouldn't it be? Especially, again, if he had the job up until 2 weeks before the season starts. Davis Warren only had 7 starts at quarterback in high school. Crazy. You see what I'm saying? This is 7 starts at quarterback in high school, and now he is the starting quarterback for the defending national champion. He is the starting quarterback where his home games house the most people in an outdoor arena in the Western Hemisphere, the Northern Hemisphere. Like, come on, bro. Like, this isn't it. The Western Hemisphere. I'm sorry, but I don't know. He could be the guy. It's just, I don't know. Is it true that Jaden Davis's family doesn't want him to play? So here's the thing. This is worth talking about because I'm not sure if it's that they don't want him to play. I think it was agreed upon that he was going to redshirt, right? But I think that was based on what they thought they had at quarterback, if I'm being honest, and getting Jaden Davis time to develop into a better quarterback. Here's the thing, though. We are in a situation where it doesn't matter anymore. And playing Jaden Davis in one of these games, like this Arkansas State game, is not going to burn his red shirt. He can still be a redshirt quarterback if he plays against Arkansas State. Now comes the test, because if Jaden Davis is actually good and he looks like a starting quarterback for a Power 4 football team, now we got to talk about starting him, right? And then that's when potentially his red shirt is burned. But if we think that this season is worth salvaging, and by the way, I think it is, you have veterans on defense: Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart. The list goes on. I don't need to name them all. Makari Page, whatever. Those guys, that's a championship level defense. We've only lost one game in an era now, this new era, where there are 12 teams that are going to make the college football playoff. We, by the way, Michigan can still play for the Big Ten. They have 0 Big Ten losses as it stands today. And if the quarterback situation is shored up by the time we get into conference play, which, that's only 2 short weeks away. So I'm sure, that's asking a lot, but if some, miracle it is, then Michigan is right back in the thick of things. All the goals are still ahead of Michigan, right? They can still win the Big Ten. They can still make the college football playoff. They don't even have to win the Big Ten to make the college football playoff. So everything is still ahead of Michigan, and all they need to do is figure out a way for this offense not to be the sluggish, disgusting thing we're seeing every week so far. If Michigan's offense can get into gear, and I don't care who the quarterback is, if it's Davis Warren that next week goes and lights up Arkansas State and that starts kind of snowball effect for him, then let it be him. I'm just saying the offense needs to improve vastly quickly. All right, it needs to improve a lot very fast. Let me get back to these comments. Bro, if we put Jaden out there before he's ready, these fans are going to turn on him. Same way they're turning on our players now. Davis Warren is 23. He can handle it, but do that to a true freshman? Look, here's the thing. I'm only suggesting that he play to start with this game on Saturday. And by the way, I'm not even saying he start that game or play all of that game or most of that game. He can play 1 series, 2 series, and still have his red shirt at the end of it. And why would the fans turn on a guy for 2 series against Arkansas State, where we should win that game very handily? This is a perfect opportunity is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that we, sight unseen, start Jaden Davis. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Let's see what we have. And I'm sure that the guys in practice are going to, evaluate what they evaluate, but it just doesn't sound like from the head coach that, he's ready to make one of those like real decisions. This guy, after the game, said he never thought about changing the quarterback. He blamed the interceptions on everybody but the quarterback. The first one certainly was the quarterback's fault. It was a badly thrown ball. It was behind the intended receiver. It was tipped up by a Texas player who then another Texas player intercepted. That was certainly Davis Warren's fault. The second one, according to Sharon Moore, a receiver ran the wrong route. However, if you watch that play, it looked like a seam route. And even if he ran the wrong route, that Texas defender was in a better position than that wide receiver ever was, I don't remember if it was a wide receiver, but the intended receiver wasn't in the best position to catch the football. The Texas guy was. So either way, at least one of those interceptions is on Davis Warren. And Sharon Moore did everything he could to blame somebody else. Sharon Moore has to stop looking and sounding as nonchalant and as, quite frankly, weak as he has sounded and looked to this point. Right? When my man was crying last season after beating Penn State, we all took that as, he's emotional because of the things that were happening to Jim Harbaugh, which I'm sure he was. By the way, I'm not condemning him for that. But the other fan bases, we know what they did with it. They perverted that thing. And now it looks like, I'm just saying, he's very nonchalant about what's happening. There's not enough rah-rah for me. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the way you have to be. I am saying, though, at least make it look like you care. And it could be because he signed his contract on the Charmin piece of toilet paper. I don't know. Sharon Moore's got the personality of a saltine cracker. I couldn't agree more. Listen, we're all family here. Let's talk about it. Sharon Moore is the first ever, let me repeat that, first ever African-American quarterback for the Wolverines. Sharon Moore just came out recently in a USA Today report, is under something that's not a ironclad contract right now. For whatever reason it is. Ward manual, we can blame Ward, we can blame whoever we want to blame, but Sharon Moore doesn't even have a contract right now. Sharon Moore, again, I have to point it out, said that he hasn't even thought about changing the quarterback. I don't know if Sharon Moore knows this, but before the fourth quarter, that quarterback had 90 yards of offense, of passing offense. Last week against Fresno State, and I'm not here to say that Fresno State is the YMCA of, Southern California. However, they're not, they're not Texas either, right? And he had 118 passing yards against Fresno State. He had a touchdown and an interception against Fresno State. Entering the fourth quarter of this week, he had less than 100 yards of passing offense and 2 interceptions against a good team. A team. Now, let me not go too far because I think Texas is a really good team. They're a team that's going to contend for the national championship, a team that more than likely is going to make the playoff, right? But still, that's not an excuse for you to play the way you played. I don't know. He just didn't even it just seemed like Texas didn't have to work for it. And I felt like at least they would work for it against Michigan. And it didn't seem that way. Coach Moore is going to be great. Stop doubting him. Listen, I like Sharon Moore. When the decision was made to hire Sharon Moore, I thought it was a great opportunity and decision. What up, though? But I do feel like he needs to be more assertive. Let me say that. He's not as assertive as I would like him to be. That's it. That's the word. It appears this coaching staff will ruin the draft stock of the NFL talent on this Michigan team. I don't necessarily believe that. Will Johnson's still going to go high in the first round. Mason Graham's still going to go high in the first round. Colston Loveland's still going to go somewhere in the first round. more than likely. Kenneth Grant, maybe you just slipped into the second round. I don't know, whatever. Winks Blitzen is giving off Don Brown vibes. Thank you. Someone sees it too. I was getting a lot of Don Brown vibes. He was leaving people one-on-one that probably shouldn't be left one-on-one, like Jair Hill at this time, like Makari Page, like Ernest Hausman. Those guys were getting exposed a little bit in one-on-one coverage. What are your thoughts on that? Do you disagree with that? Because that looked pretty clear to me. I could be wrong. I'll accept if I'm wrong. Hart should have been the head coach. Let me know, the original. You think he should have been the head coach or the offensive coordinator? What you think? Would you be confident enough to be assertive if you were coaching without a contract? Fire War. Listen, I'm not opposed to that either. I think, Ward Manuel has worn out his welcome with the Michigan fan base, if nobody else. And maybe they should be looking in a different direction. Mike Hart should have been head coach. I don't. If they would have made that decision, I wouldn't have necessarily balked at it. But I do think Sharon Moore had earned that over even Mike Hart. If he'd have made Mike Hart offensive coordinator, I'd have been okay with that. I think now here is where we're going to have some interesting conversation. I do think he should have made the defensive backs coach last year, Steve Klingscale, the defensive coordinator. I do think that should have happened. And unfortunately, he didn't do that. We hired Wink Martindale. No disrespect to Wink Martindale, who is the architect of the defense, but I think Klink had a better pulse of the team. He had been working under both McDonald and Minter for those 3 years, for that 3-year run. I think he was a better option as the defensive coordinator, and Sharon didn't want to do that. I wanted Les Miles or Jed Fish as head coach. Les Miles? I did not want Les Miles as head coach. I love Les Miles. I think Les Miles is great, but he also doesn't believe in offense necessarily. So if we wanted Les for defensive coordinator, absolutely. More power to him. He left with JH, though. Yeah, well, he was still there actually for a while, G. He was there. And I think he was upset that he didn't get that defensive coordinator job, and then he left. Remember, he was leaving, and then he wasn't leaving, and then he did leave. So I think there was an opportunity there for Sharon Moore to make him defensive coordinator, and he'd have been happy with that. Jed Fish is good. Jed Fish is good. By the way, you think that Washington game is now in jeopardy? Because I do. He understands the culture. Fact. I think that Steve Klingscale understood the culture for sure. Oregon State head was a good hire for MSU. He was. They're 2-0. They beat Maryland. I did not expect them to beat Maryland. I had Maryland winning that game before yesterday, and they came out with the win. They're playing, by the way, they are starting two very explosive freshmen, one at quarterback, one at wide receiver. And they both, the quarterback threw 3 interceptions, sure, but he threw 3 touchdowns too, and he's not afraid to take a chance. I agree with that in part. Wink Martindale is less of an issue than Kirk Campbell is. Campbell is the immediate problem. I agree with that. I will say that if I had to choose between the two right now, if you could only choose one right now, I would say Kirk Campbell is a bigger issue. Kirk Campbell's play calling is a bigger issue. I think Sharon Moore, that's one thing he can fix immediately. He can take over the play calling this week, and that could be maybe something that helps even Davis Warren. I don't know. I do think that Sharon Moore has proven to be a pretty good play caller over the couple of years that he was the offensive coordinator. So I would like to see that right now over Kirk Campbell calling the plays, if I'm being honest. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. No doubt. We hired Sharon to keep the culture. Well, the culture may have evaporated. So what was the point? Look, we're 2 games in. I'm not going to say that the culture has evaporated. I will say, he's got to put his foot down. He's got to make some changes. Changes are needed. Ferris, apparently the coaches don't agree with you. I don't know what that was about. So if we finish the season with Warren, we might as well give up the season. That's how I feel right now, for sure. I am right there right now. As it stands today, we probably need to make a change at quarterback. I believe that. Hard for the defense to not get gas when the offense can't sustain drives to give them breathing time. Offense can't sustain drives without better O-line play. I agree with this, Kinetic. However, the defense was on the field first yesterday, and Texas' offense drove right down the field. The defense then shouldn't have been too gassed when they got back on the field, and Texas drove right back down the field. So I can't necessarily blame the offense for the early part of the game yesterday. The defense wasn't, as good as it needed to be either. Suburban athletic versus hood athletic, like I said earlier. That was you. Hey, shout out to Dot. You brought that up on Johnny's thing. I agree. There is a difference between suburban athletic and hood athletic for sure. That was one of shout out to that. If anybody wants to join the chat before I get out of here, I have dropped the link in there again. P Maximus says, unfortunately, Campbell has locked in Davis, Brady Hart, and Trey Taylor likes him. Yeah. So I'm not even saying that I'm not saying that Kirk Campbell shouldn't be or can't be the offensive coordinator. There are plenty of offensive coordinators who don't call the plays. You know what I mean? Play calling is an art, as Steve Sarkisian proved yesterday. He's not the offensive coordinator for his team. He's the head coach, but he also calls the plays. And he ran circles around Wink Martindale yesterday. That's what I'm talking about. Sharon Moore, as well as being the head coach, can also call plays. That's the difference. Kirk Campbell can be, the offensive coordinator. We got a couple people in the chat. I'm going to bring Steven up first. Don, we'll get to you in a sec. Steven, what's good?
What's good, Playboy? I'm upset too, my guy.
Yeah, man.
Like I was stating earlier, it's so much I can say. I think these are the 4 biggest issues with me. The Wink Martindale and his stubbornness. It just reminds me so much of Don Brown. Like the culture didn't change until they got rid of him, and the players, they all stayed. Like when he was there, he was just real stubborn. He wouldn't take any criticism, and his I think his employment was contingent upon Coach Harbaugh letting him run the defense. So that's what Coach Harbaugh did. He couldn't tell him anything. So number 2, the quarterback situation. They knew in the spring they had 2 bad guys like Jaden Denigal. I know we talked about Jaden Davis early on JO, but if he's not going to play, Jaden Denigal can't get on the field. Like you got all these quarterbacks and nobody can beat Alex Origin Davis Warren. That says a lot about you and that culture. Yeah. Number 3, I think they're depending way too much on the NFL ready guys. Like the guys you expect to be first and second round. It's okay, Will, Mason, Kenneth, and Colston. Like, come on, man, get them boys some help. Like the linebackers look out of place. The rod, like Makari Page, my lord. Like if this ain't one of the worst, like I thought Josh Metellus was bad. Makari Page was getting cooked by Connor Helms. I'm like, dude, all you gotta do is cover him. You don't weigh as much as him, but cover him. But that was a defensive issue. And 4, I love Donovan. I love Donovan Edwards. Yeah, Donovan should not be running back 1. It should be Khalil. Like Hall was running better than this dude. What I would do, put two tight ends out there, let Donovan get the slot, let Max Bredesen play fullback, and if when Alex is on the field, 2 tight ends, Donovan as a slot receiver, another receiver, 5 offensive linemen, and Bredesen, and maybe 2 wide receivers, and just go with that because you know what Alex is going to do. He can't throw past 30 yards. He can't hit the backside of the beach from the ocean. Everybody knows he can't. So if we know he's going to run, get one of those tight ends to be like a decoy and you hit the other one. Because if like Davis Warren, his first and immediate thought process, well, where's Colston Loveland? Like you scared to throw it to anybody. Like, all he did was throw to these doggone tight ends. The wide
Right.
receivers can't get any separation, so keep one of them off the field. Morris, he ain't that dude. Morris, okay. Samaj cares about individual stats. Like, dude, you saw that man when he caught that touchdown, bro. It ain't about you. It's about Michigan. Forget that. I like Samaj for bro.
Yeah.
But if they don't get this thing cleaned up quickly and fixed, like Arkansas State should be a gimme. That should be 40, 50 points. If that game is like 38-17 or something, Michigan's in trouble. Michigan's in trouble. That game should be 50-0. And Dominic Zavada, that's his old team. You know he gonna go, but like he should be the Heisman front runner because he's carrying Michigan right now, man. Like that's the only good spot that him and Will Johnson. We don't know how good Will is because they won't throw to him. But Jair Hill and Hall and Wesley, oh, let me throw to these guys. Them dudes, they can't cover me, and I'm 43, bro. Yeah. It don't make no sense to be that doggone bad, man. But you know, I don't know. Strength and conditioning doesn't seem to. I mean, the offensive line. Oh, I forgot about the offensive line. Evan Link, Dominic Jadis, and Josh Preby. Those three are they're the weakest links. During their first bye week, have an open competition. You can't tell me it ain't three other offensive linemen on that team that can't take their job. That's what I would do. But I'm most disappointed in Coach Moore because you're an offensive line guy. You won a Joe Moore Award, and you tell me those are the best 5 guys you got. Those 5. Davis Warner scared to throw past 10. Like, come on, man. Like, this is – I'm not saying they're going to lose 4 or 5 games. I'm not at that level yet because I think they'll beat USC, and Oregon's overrated, like I've been saying for a while. But the later we get in the season, you never – like, Minnesota's going to be a tough challenge. I think they'll win that one. Michigan State is not as bad as people think they are, but I don't think they're not going to beat Michigan and Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
The Buckeyes. You know, they got Jeremiah Smith, the freshman, and like that says a lot to me. If your best wide receiver is a freshman and you got 4 of the 5 stars, then that says a lot to me too. Yeah. So we'll see. I don't think it's in panic mode, but I want like Jaden Davis or somebody like them quarterbacks ain't it, bro. They not. Not the 2 we have now. I'm sorry, they ain't.
Yeah.
So
no doubt, man. I definitely appreciate you coming up, bro.
No doubt, man. Hood athletic, suburban athletic. You know how we do it, man. It's all good.
No doubt, bro. There's a difference between suburban and hood athletic.
You're right about that. All right.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna bring Dom up. Dom is my guy. Hey, by the way, I agree with everything Steven said. He's 1000% right. Dom was good. Looked like you out getting some sun rays, enjoying the beach out there.
I just got off the beach now, M3.
Nice.
Steven, right? That was the caller before me?
Steven, yeah.
Yeah, I really don't have anything left to say. He covered it all. You know, you remember like back in grade school, you get new teachers in, you come back from summer break, and you're like, who's these new teachers?
Right.
And you're like kind of looking at this guy's weird. Or this woman just looks like a, you know, whatever.
Right.
And then you get to know the teacher and you find out they're pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that's what Michigan's going through as a whole. We lost a lot of coaches. I looked at
that's for sure.
Last night what Harbaugh took with him. That's a lot of experience, M3.
Yeah.
What's the defensive line coach's name? Elston? Am I saying that correctly?
Mike Elston?
Yeah. I mean, former Michigan defensive end.
Yep.
20 plus years. Clink scale, 20 plus years. Minter, 40 years. Let's just give it time. I hope we find a quarterback. But like I said, there's only one game that matters this season. And we've been spoiled.
That's fair.
And the last thing I'll say, M3, and thank you for having me, is it was a long 20 years to get back to seeing, you know, full offensive line, 3 tight ends, and just pounding the ball and pounding the ball and pounding the ball. And now it looked the other day like we were just chasing M3, like chasing. And I believe we threw the ball more than we actually ran the ball on Saturday.
Yeah.
When's the last time that happened?
Right. That's fair. I agree with you. Like you said, Steven said a lot. And by the way, no lies were told. And even here, you're not lying either. And I do think one of the things that even escaped me for a bit, right? Like I have forgotten we've lost the entire offense, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's gone except for Colston Loveland. He's the only returning starter on that offense. So there has to be some some sense of latitude given in that situation. I will concur. The entire defensive staff is gone, including, like you said, Mike Elston, Steve Klingscale gone. And these are guys that were part of that culture for 3 years, right?
Yep.
So I have forgotten, not forgotten, but when you're in the moment there, the team's looking the way the team was looking, you do tend to forget those things, right?
Yep.
That said, I have to bring up like a Nick Saban, right? Nick Saban lost coordinators and coaches year over year, but that machine kept turning, right? They still did what they did in terms of getting talent in there. They had their system, their way of doing things, and that was that, right? Now, granted, Nick Saban was the head coach, and we lost our head coach from a season ago too. So, Sharon Moore is trying to keep in line with what the groundwork that Jim Harbaugh laid, but so much of it is different. So I will acquiesce to that. But still, this is Michigan, and we do have an expectation, especially coming off of the Natty and 3 straight Big Ten championships.
You're absolutely right, and Moore's not a head coach, but he's been there a long time. He's paid his dues to get there, and I promised myself I'm not going to mention anything about Ward Manuel or Ben Herbert. I won't do that anymore.
Right.
I've beaten that drum to death, but I do have good news for you today.
All right.
Good news for everybody in the chat as well. All right.
All right.
Two things. Number one, we got one hell of a field goal kicker.
Oh, Darth Zvada's the man.
And number two, how about them Notre Dame Irish yesterday? How about that? Where's Ryan at? Huh?
Right.
Anybody seen Ryan out there? I've been looking for him.
Right. Yeah, no. Look, man, I've been trying to support what's my guy? Marcus Freeman for 3 seasons now, but bro, at the end of the day,
bonafide scrub. He can't play.
Michigan?
Bonafide scrub. They lost to Northern Illinois yesterday. And I wish Dallas fan was in here, because he was here for a second, but he got out of here very quickly because he sought me out yesterday on social media after Michigan lost to Texas to laugh and to chide and got real quiet by the third quarter of that football game. We could not find him. There was an APB out on Notre Dame fans, and he was one of them. Nobody could find them. They were on a milk carton somewhere. But yeah, shout out to you for that. That does bright. That was, I said yesterday in the live, the only thing that can make me feel better, even an ounce, was Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois. That happened. Thank you.
I got one last thing for you, M3. My older brother, I haven't spoke to him in 6 years. Okay.
I'm sorry to hear that.
You can't fix a narcissist, alcoholic. Really? Okay. That's what he is. So he loves Notre Dame. Okay.
Right.
So I called my mom like halftime in a Michigan game, and she's like, your brother, I'm not saying this to agitate you, Dominic, but your brother is just giggling drunk with how bad Michigan's playing. I'm like, well, what can I do? I'm not coaching. And then I was like, I called my mom after the Notre Dame game, and I said, Karma never loses an address. And what you put out comes back, and there you go. Northern Illinois, what were they, M3? Like 90th, 95th in the country?
Right.
We better not sleep on Arkansas State.
Right. I agree with that. We can't now go out here and take this L to Arkansas State. I do think we need to punish Arkansas State. We need to beat them very bad come Saturday.
I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to be on your show, M3. You do a great job. And everybody hit that like button or else.
Thank you. Everybody hit that like button. Thank you, Dom.
Take care.
You've been a day one guy. I appreciate it. That's Dom enjoying the beach in sunny California while we are here with hoodies on in the rest of the country, but whatever. Name calling when you're about to get smashed for the biggest cheating scandal is not very smart. Oh my God. I'm so tired of Scott in Ohio. Scott in Ohio. Oh man, that's hilarious. You know what, Scott in Ohio, I'm gonna let you live today. That it is what it is, man. You know what? If you believe that that cost you guys the last 3 seasons, be my guest. Whatever. If you're still waiting on the proverbial hammer to come down on Michigan again, be my guest. We'll wait for it together. We're waiting just like you, dude. Ban this idiot. He is an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't mean to call you an idiot. I don't want to name call you. I don't know you, Scott in Ohio. I appreciate your passion for the Buckeyes. It is what it is. Anyway, guys, I gotta bid you adieu. I appreciate everyone who came through for the live. Make sure you like if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Become a member. Get you the OG Maize Madman logo after 2 months. You can use custom emojis and all of that right here in these live chats. Monday, me and my guy, the Maniac, will be back here for Eminem Mondays. Make sure y'all tune in live for that, 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, you know what to do. Stay angry, my friends.